So today what we're going to do is we're going to look at 5D, working with word problems involving fractions. And we're going to be looking at the magic word of. Of is a word that's used a lot when you're working with word problems. And it always means to do exactly the same thing. However, students like to make it mean something it's not. So you're going to see this a lot, so you really need to make sure that you understand what the word of means. Anytime you see that word of, it always means to multiply. Now, you'll want to divide, but don't. What does it always mean to do? Multiply, exactly. So what you're going to have is you're going to have a sentence like this. I can't spell. Hold on. Some fraction of some number. Now that number can be another fraction. It can be a whole number. Later it could be an integer, meaning positive or negative number, right? So it can be any number, but you're saying some fraction of it. For example, 1/3 of the students in this classroom didn't get in trouble yesterday. Just kidding.
Yeah.
It was way less than that. Come on. All right. So.
Raise your hand if you want one.
Oh. Yeah. Quite a long list yesterday, guys. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of these, and you're going to translate these problems and work them. We already know how to multiply with fractions, so that part's easy. But what you have to make sure you can do is you have to be able to set it up properly, because both of the numbers you're working with could be fractions. So it's really important that you learn how to translate these, right? So what you're going to have is you're going to have some fraction. This is the way it translates. Some fraction. Remember A over B, just that general notation for whatever fraction. And of always means that you're going to multiply. And then some number, you'll know which number to use because it's the whole amount. So we're going to practice a few where we're just finding the whole amount or thinking about the whole amount. So if I said all the students in this room, that's a whole amount, yes? Yep. What if I said the number of the students in this room who are wearing a hat? Is that the whole thing? No, that would be a fraction of the whole thing, right? So it's really important that you be able to find which one is the piece, the fraction, and which one is the whole. Okay? So, all the students in the school, right? Okay? That would be an example of a whole group. Right? So we're going to look at some things and being able to translate them. They're usually very straightforward because it's usually given to you just like this. Some fraction of something. So look for the key phrase of whatever, or of the whatever. The thing that follows that word of is generally the whole. Now you have to be careful because they can play tricks with you with the wording of it. Okay? So if that happens, then you're going to have to make sure you get the right one. So let's talk about the steps for doing this. Okay? First thing is you want to identify the whole. And again, don't let that mean that you think it has to be a whole number, because it could be a fraction, it could be a decimal later, it could be anything. But identify the whole. Then you're simply going to multiply that number by the fraction given. Okay? So could not be easier. And the ones that they give you in your homework are really easy because this is such an important concept as you move forward. Word problems that look very complicated can often be simplified down to one of these things where you just have of. Okay? So this is used so often, it's going to get its own section. So that's all we're doing today is this piece. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to pop over to the book and look at some examples. We're going to do a few of them where I'm doing the work, a few of them where we're doing the work, right? And then I'm going to call on you to do the work yourself, all right? So call on individuals. So let's just pop over to the book. There we go. We're just going to go straight to the exercises. All right? So look at just exercise 5D. Look at number 1. Can you see that? It's awfully small, right? There we go. 2/3 of the jelly beans in a jar are black. So 2/3 of something. What does that word of always mean to do? Multiply. There you go. And it's 2/3 of the what in this case? Jelly beans. So the jelly beans are the whole. That's the thing I'm taking a part of. Okay? So it's simply going to be 2/3 times the number of jelly beans. And in this particular instance, they say that there are how many jelly beans in the jar? 96. Then, now we just have a fraction problem where we're multiplying. Before we multiply with fractions, we always what? Simplify. We have 96 and 3. 2 and 3 won't simplify, will it? But 96 and 3, and you can put that over 1 if you prefer. Makes no difference to me. Will 96 divide by 3? How can you tell so easily? You have rules for divisibility, right? 9 plus 6 is 15, and since 15 divides by 3, that means 96 will. Right? Remember that? So let's divide. 3 divided by itself is going to leave a 1. 96 divided by 3 is going to make 32. And then I just multiply how? Straight across? Yep. Okay. So 2 times 32 is 64. In the bottom, 1 times 1 is 1. Is that the way I'd leave my answer, though? No, 64 over 1 is to plain old 64. And you need to answer the question because this was given as a word problem. So 64 of the jelly beans are what? Black. The yuckiest flavor. Okay. All right. So you see how simple it is? It's just a matter of choosing which thing you're taking the fraction of. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. All right. Now. All right. So we took 7/8 of our number and we ended up with 4,375 trees. Okay? Good job. Let's look at another one. Now, let's look at the second part of that question. Okay? Still there. So the second part of the question was asking you, if this is the number of eucalypts in the forest, then how many of the trees in the forest are not eucalypts? So think about that for a second, and then I'm going to call on somebody to answer. If I know that there are 5,000 trees in the forest, and I know that 4,375 of them are eucalypts, how can I find out how many are not?
Subtract 4,375 from 5,000 and work that out.
Excellent. You want to help me work it out then? So we're going to borrow 65. There we go. There we are. So, remember that. It's what? Oh, because the 4. I'm sorry. I can't add, subtract, multiply, or divide. That's not good for a math teacher. There we are. Sorry about that. Teach me to listen. Now listen, guys. Come on. So, pay close attention. They are frequently going to have you find a number, and then they'll say, if this many of the students are playing rugby, how many are not? So to find that magic word there is just not. That just simply means to subtract them. Okay? Good job. All right.